to 709 Meridian, an audio commentary podcast. My name is Andrew.
And this is D.
And we are back again for our summer of duologies, late summer of duologies, as it is. And we are kicking off the Dino De Laurentiis two-part King Kong sequence, starting with 1976's King Kong.
The big one.
The big one, a.k.a. the most exciting original motion picture event of all time. De Laurentiis didn't even know what original meant on a fucking movie poster. There were actually two competing King Kong projects in the 70s. So
yes,
there was this and there was The Legend of King Kong, which was going to star Peter Falk as Denham. And they both started getting kicked around in, I think, about 74. And Universal was going to do the other one, and they dropped out in like 75. So that one was going to be a period piece. This one's a modernization.
Yeah.
I can't remember if that one was like making a big deal out of using stop motion, but that doesn't make a lot of sense because what stop motion was big in the early 70s. But this got famous because De Laurentiis promised there'd be a 50-foot Kong robot that would do the acting in the movie, which we will talk about.
Yeah.
It is also famous for introducing Jessica Lange to the screen. She had been a fashion model, I believe.
Wow.
And
the dude himself.
The dude, yes. Jeff Bridges.
Looking very dude-like in this movie.
Young dude here. This is the dude's. This is what happened to the dude. This is what went. This is the dude's backstory.
How he crashed and burned.
Yeah, and we can talk about the long and lengthy career of Jeff Bridges searching for stardom and what actually got him there. Speaking of Big Lebowski.
And Mr. Charles Grodin is in this.
Charles Grodin is one of his very few non-comedy performances. I feel like this is what convinced him not to do it.
But he kind of brings the funny in it. It's just he's playing kind of, I would say, a prototype to what became like what Dabney Coleman sort of slipped into.
He could, he is very much the boss from 9 to 5 in some ways, right? Like, with this interesting Charles Grodin vibe to it. So infamous, not really infamous, actually. Like, this was a movie that came out, did well, was entitled, but didn't do Jaws.
No. And this was a year after, right?
Yeah. And so it was a year before Star Wars, a year before Close Encounters. So it just was sort of this, it did better than Orca, but it was a studio sci-fi spectacular in the post-Spielberg but pre-Lucas era, which is this very interesting sort of, and also the killer monster or the killer animal vibe. It was the right time for Kong.
Kong sort of around this time they did. They were actually, weren't they talking about more Godzillas?
Yeah, because Godzilla went on moratorium, and I think like 74, 75 was the last one in Japan. The one that came out here, the last one that came out here, they might have come out of order, but one of them came out with Godzilla fighting on top of the World Trade Center because they'd had long enough to see the Kong advertising. But yeah, so then the movie sort of just got forgotten for a bit. And we will, it existed, but we'll talk about it. It existed, but it was not readily available.
No.
So, all right. Are you ready? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, let's roll it.
Let's do it. This is our first long one in a while, too. So here we go. Starting in 3, 2, 1, play. Golf and Western. We're back to Paramount. Oh, it's been too long.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh.
So, um, Kong was one of the very obvious missing like widescreen movies.
Oh,
You had it on VHS, and then you basically didn't have a widescreen print of it until the DVD in 2099 or 2000.
mm.
And it was really weird because Paramount had sort of forgotten about this.
Yeah, they dismissed it.
Uh,
Even, in its DVD reissues, it always got a shitty cover.
yep.
It was always just like, yep, King Kong, Jessica Lange, Jeff Bridges, and
Okay,
Big
so
Monkey. There you
here
go.
we go.
Hey,
We got a lot of
Jack
stars here.
O'Halloran,
Yep.
Rene Auberjonois,
And
Julius Harris.
Harris. Yep. We've got a very nice 70s cast here.
Yeah.
De Laurentiis was into like this kind of casting. The problem is that he
Well,
really liked making he really wanted to make 9
it looked
Mandingo movies.
it looked good on those old 70s posters.
Posters, yeah, where you had all
You know
the
how they have
faces.
the faces, yeah.
Kong is very much a face movie poster. No, certainly no promises, but maybe somebody has done a good face poster for it.
Yeah,
But this is of the era of the Irwin Allen disaster movie. So,
the airport.
and you got Towering
Right, there he
Inferno
goes.
by now. Yeah. And this is Gullerman who had directed Towering Inferno.
Mm.
So,
All the other ones, Earthquake. Damn, the disaster movies.
but yes, so mustachioed Charles Grodin is pretty rare.
Mm. Real hair.
Yep. Ed Lauder yelling. Here we got
Yeah,
Jeff Bridges sneaking aboard.
Ed, angry 80s dad Lauder.
Yep. Can't functional alcoholic till he's not Ed Lauder. Like,
Right.
love me some Ed Lauder. So,
Kurtwood Smith prototype.
yeah, except he didn't write a fucking letter for Danny Masterson, did he? He had the
Right.
fucking good sense to die and not be put in that position. Uh, so I don't know. I don't know that Ed Lauder could play somebody smart. Kurtwood Smith could play somebody smart.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the difference.
that is the difference. Ed Lauder's, very working class hero type guy, but working the villain, the antagonist to the working class hero.
Yeah.
All right, so we are gonna. This was a Christmas '76 movie. I don't know if it was actually delayed, but De
Had a lot
Laurentiis,
of marketing.
yeah,
A
they
lot of.
started marketing this shit in like even though De Laurentiis had a contract, like he released all of his shit through Paramount.
Mhm.
Um, he did like approach it like the Salkinds did, where you were just like drumming up international interest and shit.
Mm.
Okay. So we're gonna get some really nice editing from Ralph Winters. Got a beautiful John Barry score.
Yep.
And then
Now, this, I don't know if it had a cable run until the 80s because the network version, the premiere on TV, was so big. Like,
yeah, this was of the era. This was also with the disaster movies, and it's hilarious that that's been so forgotten. But the extended network premiere, where basically you stretched your 2 hour and 15-minute movie out to 2 nights, or right, you stretch it out to a two-parter.
they did that with everything back then. Like this,
Superman. was infamous.
Superman, yeah.
Yeah, poor
I think
Superman.
they even tried that with Superman 2, right? And it was like,
It's the restored on that international cut is it's unclear if that ever aired, but I think yes, some of it did. But 3 even had it with Superman. Like,
because remember it was always an event.
yeah,
They would play that plus like the hour long
yep.
making of.
You get your 7 to 8 slot and then your 8 to 10 slot out of it. And because it was like a home video event on your TV thing, right? Like, because this was
Mm-hmm.
still relatively early days of VHS. Like, VHS never had like event drops other than sell through, which started in like 89. Like, that was
Yeah.
like the first event was when you bought Batman or something, or Indiana Jones 3 wasn't $99. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, the networks really wanted to hype shit. So you had those like network premiere, and that was a big deal until like Jurassic Park, I think was the first. Jurassic Park might have had a big one, but I think Lost World didn't. And that was like sort of the end of that. Like,
Yeah, Lost World, because that just had a mixed reaction.
yeah,
I personally like it. I don't mind it. You know, as a sequel to Jurassic Park, maybe it's the lesser, but I'd take it over anything that came after,
right.
including 3 and all the Jurassic World movies. It's like, how do you make the dinosaurs not scary anymore? Um,
So here we got John Randolph, who would go on to play.
Grandpa and every.
Yeah, was he a regular on Roseanne?
I think so.
Maybe. Yeah, he might have been her dad or
Her
something.
dad, yeah. They
So,
hit us,
oh yeah, that's right. Man,
right?
Roseanne was a fucking dark ass. Like, Roseanne was a
Knock
grown
me
up
across the
show.
room, Jackie.
Uh it's one of those other things where it's like it is a shame that Roseanne turned out. Like, that sucks too. Like, that
Yeah,
show had its ups
yeah.
and downs, but like
They, right,
that show did take shit seriously. Like,
right. When they were really getting down to the real shit,
well,
it was good.
it didn't feel like an extra special episode, right? Like, they integrated it
Right.
well. And Laurie Metcalf like deserved
Oh
every
yeah.
fucking Emmy ever made
Her
for that. Yeah.
and John Goodman
And John Goodman was really good.
episode when Dan went to go whoop old dude's ass
But
for beating on Jackie. Shit.
her real life husband, like, that had so much sub. I think they finally broke up, but that had a bunch of subtext too. You're just like, Jesus.
Oh man.
Yeah. But it's like, nah, I'm not gonna watch Roseanne again. I'm sorry. Like,
The original.
nah. I mean, maybe there's too much I'd rather watch. I'm not gonna watch the new one, but no, there's too
Well,
much I'd rather
it's
watch.
I figured the original is only good up until like Mark and his brother show up.
Oh God,
That's
that's
where it
right.
kind of that's where
Oh
it falls apart.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that boyfriend.
And once they bring in David and Mark,
Johnny
they kind
Galecki
of
sucks.
yeah, they kind of kill the show.
Yeah. And then the last season's really
Right.
whatever.
Although I kind of want to see the Steven Seagal episode again.
All right,
All right, so
so yeah,
we're
go
we're
for
down
it.
in a mission here. We're down at a mission here on the Petrox boat. They're out to get some oil from this untapped possible resource here, which is Skull Island, right?
Never called Skull Island, but
Never
yes.
called Skull Island, but
I
The
believe it
place where
will.
Kong lives.
Yeah, it'll be called the Island of the Skull.
Skulls.
But
Yeah.
so it's unclear who had the rights to make the sequel. Like that's some of this. Is that like current or not currently, but a few years ago, some guy named God was it Joe DeVito did he had the rights to the novelization, which came out before the movie, because this was something that happened
Oh wow.
up until like basically Star Wars even tried that shit, I think, where they dropped
Yeah, the novelization.
the novelization early and sort of implied that the movie was based on the novel. And it was just like a way of getting your foot out there and like teeny bit of brand shit. But for
E.T. was
genre,
infamous.
yeah, it really mattered for genres. So I think this
Everything
guy,
had a novelization too.
somebody DeVito, he got the rights to the book and so was basically able to do prequel stories.
Hmm.
That has somehow gotten tied into the legendary contract. So now we're going to have basically both going forward. We're going to have a King Kong series that's based on that Joe DeVito type shit, which is all about the Skull Island tribe. There's been comics from Boom about it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so but it's going to tie into the legendary shit too, because it's part of that like legendaries brought all the licenses together finally. But at this point, there was they like were making a readaptation of the script. They didn't have remake rights or something. So the other one was going to be the faithful remake, whereas this one is Jeff Bridges looking like Teen Wolf, and
Right. I like Styles. I believe the Wolf Styles.
all right. So let's
So the
talk.
cat's out of the bag here.
Yep.
Jeff Bridges is an environmentalist who has stowed away on the Petrox cruiser here. He's got a mission of mercy, or trying to tell him, don't go, whatever. And Groton's not hearing any of it.
Excuse me. So at this time, Jeff Bridges was less famous than his brother Bo.
Wow. But I can, believe that. This is mid 70s.
Yeah. They've been trying to make Jeff Bridges happen since 72, and it still hadn't happened. Now, people of Gen X remember Jeff Bridges as one of the knockoff Harrison Fords. You had a
Yeah.
number of those. You had Jeff Bridges, you had Dennis
Dennis
Quaid.
Quaid.
The most natural one, of course, would have been Mr. Michael Douglas, but we saw what happened when he tried to get by on charm. And so
So he turned it to Smarm and did
that's perfect.
Wall Street, which he
From
never
charm to smarm.
really.
But yes, so and then Jeff Bridges now is, famous and relatively, I mean, he's not, I don't think he's beloved, but he's like
He never really got like he was trying to be the thinking man's Ford, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas Dennis Quaid was the straight knockoff. We forgot Kurt Russell,
Mm.
who
Kurt Russell was a contemporary.
Yeah.
To the point. Well, wait. Did Kurt Russell try out for Luke or did he try out for Han? He tried out for Luke.
I don't think it was Han.
Was it? Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, so yeah, and then Kurt Russell just became an action hero. Like,
Yeah.
he became a combination sitcom movie sitcom action
Yeah,
hero,
movie
basically.
sitcom. Yeah, because they kept him and Goldie did a few movies.
Okay, so
Now here we have
here we have Jessica Lange.
the introducing Jessica Lange,
They're
very
doing
fresh off the boat. Jessica Lange.
everything they can to get her into wet clothes
Yeah.
for a while here. And so people really did not like Jessica Lange in this. She got like the French nominated her for Best Star, but we're about to see an amazing scene here because what we're she's gonna have a bunch of close up one shots where she's telling her story here,
Oh yeah.
except it's a continuous take on her where everybody else gets a break, but she doesn't. And so it's like everybody's always like, oh, Jessica Lange's great, but she wasn't in King Kong. I'm like, no, 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 no. She was great in King Kong. You might not like King Kong, but she's fucking great.
Oh yeah.
But she beat out Meryl Streep for this part. Meryl Streep's
Wow.
turned that into a joke. And then after this, she did that High Cost of Living movie with oh, Jane Curtin and
Oh wow.
somebody else, and it's really rare, but it's streaming now, so you know it's just one of those things you just don't have time to watch. But and then she sort of all that jazz was sort of her breakthrough, and then by the mid 90s or by the mid 80s she was like a
Prestige.
prestige. She was second tier Meryl Streep. So
Yeah.
and she's really stuck it out. She weathered. I haven't seen any of the American Horror Stories, so I don't actually know how she is on those. But I mean, she.
I keep forgetting she's one actress from that era that wasn't in Steel Magnolias. Because that had everybody in it. She's the one that, but she made one that was like Steel Magnolias, right?
Yeah, and then the '90s were really not great for that kind of movie because like Disney made all of them. I If
Yeah.
I knew that old boy was wearing a cravat, I'd forgotten. That is a great detail for um, Charles Grodin. Okay, so here we go. This is basically just going to be Jessica Lange having to act stoned by herself for 3
Oh yeah.
minutes. Now, in the original movie, so Fay Ray is an actress who is cast as a pretty face for
Mm-hmm.
a documentarian, a pseudo documentarian's action documentarian's movie. Um, so she was like, she had a bunch of story. There's a lot of story of her on the ship meeting the first mate. Now, in this one, she's gonna be a like New York party girl who wants to be an actress, but hangs out with creepy rich guys who have yachts and show pornos on deck or something. And so, like, it's this weird, like, celebrity thing. Whereas in the first one, it was just like during the Depression, and like, it was about how, like, everybody,
Something.
even if you look like Fay Ray, your dreams could be crushed in the Great Depression.
Yeah. It's kind of implied that like some dirty shit was about to go down on that boat.
Yeah,
And somehow
it,
she made it out.
it's yeah, 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 yeah. And so we had seen the distress call from this boat a little bit earlier. Now, in the TV cut, which is now available thanks to Shout Factory, and when we say TV cut, we mean with no changes, including that they bought some fucking, I don't even know what, like it's got the bumpers and things. Or not
Right,
the it's got the recap, not
previously
the
on
yeah.
in the
So
previous King Kong installment.
yeah, there's like a 15-minute recap, but there's some extra scenes. So that presumably we would be in the second half hour, coming up on an hour, maybe even.
Yeah.
We're only 20 minutes in, but the extra TV
Yeah,
scenes, you got an extra 5 at
it's about
least. Yeah.
you're at the 45-minute point probably
Yeah.
by now. Because I forgot they add something even before they get on the boat.
Yep. We've got Jack fucking around, and then I think then they add a bunch more on the boat to pad it out, but it's just the
Yeah.
same shots reversed, like flipped horizontally. Okay, here we go. So now she's on her own for this fucking shot. It's a cheesecake shot, which is not, like
Yeah,
it's an
because
intentional cheesecake shot.
it looks like a Bond movie now.
Mhm.
Oh, James.
And here's the infamous I was saved by Deep Throat, which
Uh,
raises way too many questions, I suppose, when you're a youth.
right. There was going to be some trains ran on that boat.
God, look at that photography. Just like,
Yeah. She looks so good in this.
I just love the interior photography too. Like,
It's lit well. Like,
except I'm pretty sure we're breaking a wall there. Holy shit. Wait a second. There's no fucking way there was a wall there, John Gullerman. You just shot through the fucking wall. Okay.
well, that's probably a set.
Well, yeah, but still, I'm
That's at the
like,
studio somewhere.
he's not worried like John Carpenter was on the thing about cheating with the fucking walls.
Oh, yeah, the wall.
Which of course does raise an interesting point, is that no, from about 19 what?
Hmm.
60, when's like that the height of just your Doris Day? No, I don't even know if that's a good example. Like just your sort of
Oh, the big Technicolor
but the big Technicolor, but the goofy sort of proto groovy shit, like 65 or so.
65,
Yeah,
66.
some the Elvis movies basically, where nobody gave a shit if you were shooting,
Yeah, that's
in a wall
60.
situation.
That's like 64 to
Yeah,
60,
and then
67.
we sort of got rid of some of that in the
Whoa.
70s with your new Hollywood movement, or not your new, but whatever, your indie guys, right? Like you didn't
Yeah.
break those rules in French Connection. Spielberg didn't break those rules, but
Like Ed Lauder's looking at last shot.
yo, Ed, this is just like this movie takes place in the nicest possible universe, where
Mm.
literally she's on the ship with this fucking
It's like,
crew, and they're just like, "You're our little sister," and none of us are fucking,
yeah, none of us are going back to
no,
our
we're the
rooms to go.
no, we are
I'm
there's
not going
more
to just
in you.
grab my shit
No,
and
there's
rip it like a
yeah,
pair of dice and go.
this is there's more fucking innuendo in a Disney movie than in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is the most aspirational like thing in the fucking world. But it's
Well,
also kind of, we don't actually get to know the crew very well.
not
Now,
really, no, because they just exist to, they get taken out.
they get taken out, but you've got Ed Lauder. He's around for a bit because he's basically playing the Jack Driscoll role from the first movie, except they've split the romance away. Like, we get to know Renee Auberjonois a bit. The captain's about to disappear. Like, when the captain comes back, it'd be the second night you were watching this on TV, and you'd be like, who the fuck is that guy? And they'd be like, it was the captain. He did not get a send off. So Poseidon Adventure had come out at this point.
Oh damn, yeah.
Yeah. And also,
God, there were so many of those fucking movies.
This is a very Ramon Beery back there. I don't know why I know that.
Jessica Lange as Skipper. Tiny Top Skipper.
John Lone. John Lone. This might be his first movie. He plays Chinese cook. Now, in the first King Kong, rather problematically, one of our most loving characters is Charlie the Chinese cook.
Wow.
They kept the Chinese cook, but gave him no lines. And I'm pretty sure in the pan and scan version, he does not appear.
But he's in the credits and shit.
Yeah, he's in the credits, and he's right back there. He's got the bandana on.
Head on? Oh,
yeah. So, what the fuck else were we talking about?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Not even in Tootsie. Like, no. I mean.
Yeah, it's because somehow Jessica Lange was somebody who basically played 28 to 43 forever.
Yeah.
Like, starting in Tootsie, because she was that thing where, your first and second dreams in New York haven't worked out type thing, right? Like, so she had a certain maturity about her, even by Tootsie was what, 80?
Yeah, by 82, yeah.
So, that is 6 years after this, but it's like, I don't think she was like, she would have still been late 20s. I think.
That's why it was like, it's true. They kind of always sort of played her older.
Yeah.
Or too mature for her age.
And in the 80s, she and Sam Shepard were together for a long time. And so she would play the parts in Sam Shepard adaptations, which were
really, I think some of the parts she played, they should have gave to somebody like Jennifer Jason Leigh, so she didn't have to play teenagers.
Right. Her entire fucking life. Yeah. Until fucking 1990 or whatever. What year was Backdraft?
Right.
Yeah. So it's a weird time of cinema. I also think one of Jessica Lange's breakouts was Stardust Memories, but we're not gonna go that right. We're not gonna talk about it.
But sure, let's talk about it.
Let's not. We're not having that talk. Oh God, we're not having. There's so many talks we're not having, but that's one of them. That's the one we're not having. Okay, so and we talk about Mel Gibson a lot more than we used to, for fuck's sake.
Shit.
Though still, like, it helped that he just was like, I'm just a piece of shit. Nope, I had another chance. Nope, piece of shit. Anyway, here we are going up to Hawaii.
Oh yeah.
I think this is the Fantasy Island beach or something. It's the beach in 6 Days, 7 Nights. It's also the beach.
Nobody under like 35 probably would have got that.
They don't do that in the other fucking. I don't know. They've relaunched Fantastic or Fantasy Island so many times I can't keep track. Like even
Yeah, I
when I
know.
read about it.
Yeah, I can't
Oh
believe it.
God, this shot. So here's the thing about Kong. The funny thing about Kong is with these extreme like long shots of this shit, Kong still looks pretty cool on VHS, like pan and
Oh
scan.
yeah,
Kong
yeah.
looks pretty cool, and that was
Because
something.
look at how it's shot. It's
Yeah.
just
So that was kind of the weird thing about this era of like Jaws is another one. Like you can watch Jaws pan and scan and you can tell it's really fucking well directed, right? Like you can kind of tell that with some other stuff, but the Candle and Monster Squad. But on in pan and scan though, you get like a bigger sense of like that mist
right.
encompassing them. Whereas
Is it
here,
over?
it's much more natural and not like they're lost in the mist. But Rene
Right.
Everjorn has passed, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
gone.
He was on Boston Legal, and that is one of the few things I'm like, I am gonna have to do
Oh my God,
Boston Legal.
Jessica Lange. Jeez. Yeesh. Oh,
Which one of the male crew members' outfit did she adapt that from? I'm
she
curious.
took. I think she took a couple of their, you know,
Yeah,
somebody's clothes and just knitted like it was from because they donated their pieces of
yeah,
their clothes, right?
yeah. Get this
Here, let me-
beautiful John Barry music. Now, the John Barry score was out on, oh God, did it come out on cassette? It was out on LP,
Uh-huh.
and it was very hard to come by. And then all of a sudden there was a CD and it wasn't hard to come by anymore. Like,
Go start this back up.
okay, and now we're going to get my zoom out here. I think in the TV version, we like get multiple like repeats of this. I think it's that bad of TV cut editing where they just repeat the
Oh
sequence.
yeah.
I don't know where this part's filmed. But this is
That
like
is the one annoying thing about the TV cut, where you just see the same shot.
over, yeah. Oh, let's zoom in now, do it
Right, let's
backwards,
zoom
right?
back down into it.
Now here's where we start getting into where the widescreen really matters for Kong. You didn't see that much of the wall in the pan and scan cut. You lost Julius Harris and Nan in those
Yeah.
shots. Like you lose the scale here. Though you also in the widescreen learn that they did not have young James Cameron painting their mats, and they could have used him, taken him out of high school when he was the age to be befriended by a Terminator. That's what John Cameron should, or James Cameron. That's what James Cameron should make. That's what he should do with all of his fucking billions of dollars and box office revenue. He should do a movie that's just about like the Terminator befriending him when he was in high school. Like he's fucking John Connor. Just the fucking worst thing.
He'd have to go to an aquatic high school.
Of course.
It'd have to take place underwater at some point. God, Lord, wow.
Jessica Lange has won an Oscar, right? Like,
I think so, but to this day, I don't think she's ever looked as good or better than she does in this movie.
Man. I mean, that is kind of what the movie's tried to do.
It's not even the point of her just being the only woman in the movie, but
right? No, she's yes.
Because there's movies like that where it's like, oh, she's hot, but you remember like
it's.
You find out the actress is like Emma Stone or some shit.
This is not. Yeah, this is not like. This is a very. I mean, the problem is, yeah, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Perfect timing. So, while this is incredibly problematic, is it as problematic as Peter Jackson doing the same thing in 2005?
Well, the problem is the tribal shit it's integral to King Kong. You know, it's always been there, even, you know,
and they
as far back as the original.
Yeah, and they do in the comics. So the King Kong on the Planet of the Apes adaptation's pretty good, actually.
Wow.
Until like the last two episodes. You got to check it out. Because it's set right after the first one. And so it's a direct sequel to Planet of the Apes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. They're like, hey, we just found the Statue of Liberty. There's this side for King Kong. This by Carl Denham.
I just found out they're doing right now King Kong versus Godzilla versus Justice League.
Yeah. I saw some art for that. Yeah. That's what I mean by Legendary getting this license together. I mean, I think it's all a terrible fucking idea, but I mean, whatever, cool.
Right. Like, it's just kind of, as long as they're keeping it vital, I guess, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the more of this shit they make, the better chance with comics, the more you make, the better chance you eventually have something good. That's not like it is with everything else. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Dino De Laurentiis.
They're reenacting Purple Rain.
They are reenacting Purple Rain. There is that.
The tribal reenactment of Purple Rain.
This is the revolution
ceremony.
Yeah.
Let's go crazy.
I cannot cut that together. I can't actually do that. But if someone else would like to do that, a person who can do that appropriately, culturally, go for it, because I bet it'd be awesome. I won't do it, but if you need a rip of King Kong, I'll hook you up. So,
no.
Mandingo. Mandingo was a movie about
it was terrible.
With slaves, enslaved people being raped.
The sequel
was
Drum, which was basically Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. I kid you not. The ending is the same ending.
It was super popular. Now, this is really, when you look at something like Box Office Mojo, you're like, hey, where are all the box office records before 1978? And it's like, we don't have good records for that. But then you'll read about, like, yep, this is great. Then you'll read, I mean, The Mask is cool. You'll read about how,
can you believe it? The white folks brought potato salad.
There were lines around the block for Mandingo. And
Mandingo was a big movie.
It was a cultural phenomenon. It was a hit.
It was so bad.
And so
I wanted to kill James Mason so bad.
and like, yeah,
The movie was terrible.
so
The rheumatiz, and he's
this
got his
is,
feet on a little slave kid. Oh God,
you can't, oh God, you can't really, so
the movie makes you want to stab somebody. Oh shit,
sadly, also
Mandingo.
there's a Venn diagram with Mandingo and the people who are upset that uh, Disney Plus cut the N word out of French Connection because a kid might
No,
watch
you're
it.
kidding. What the fuck?
No, the hill I am on is that's fucking fine. You're on Disney Plus.
Yeah, but
Anybody can come
still,
across that. You
if
don't
right, but
have
hey,
the
if it makes you buy the actual movie, then fine.
right,
You know,
like have the fucking uncut thing. Have it be opt in, but that
yeah, it
you
should be an
can't with
option.
streaming. You can't do that because people don't know that. You don't see the rating that way. It's not, the ratings are intentionally inspecific so people don't have to say this is when we were really fucking racist in
Or or
public.
or Whoopi Goldberg just does not have the time to do intros to every single fucking movie.
Oh my god, who could be a hacky Whoopi Goldberg who would sell their rights to do intros to every movie, though? Okay, so there's Kong, and nobody notices. Now, here we're gonna have, now this scene makes no sense in the VHS cut because of the pan and, or the VHS version because of the pan and scan, but
Man, it's too dark.
it's too dark. But then in the letterbox, you can tell. I think it's going to look a little too fake. So like we're in the Star Trek: The Motion Picture conundrum of like, oh, we want the widescreen. Ooh, shit. We were actually hiding problems in the pan and scan.
Yeah, you could see
Poor
wires and
John
shit. Mm.
John Randolph, Ernie Hudson of the movie here. And well, there's this whole other thing we don't even want to get into, that you could see the wire work in the Superman movies and the pan and scan versions, which led to people disparaging them,
Yeah,
even though once you accurately showed it in the widescreen, the wires weren't they, like it
yeah,
just,
they weren't.
yeah.
I think they might have digitally gone over them since then, though.
I think
I
they
don't know.
probably have cleaned them up a little bit. But I mean, at the
Yeah.
same time, everybody's forgetting that you would watch a Star Wars movie, and especially the first one. Star Wars was, it looked like fucking X Wings on paper backgrounds flying in space. Like
Hmm.
the mats in Star Wars, what was super impressive was how many mats they mixed, but you could tell they were mats. Like fucking ILM didn't get really good at hiding mats until Star Trek 2.
Yeah, because in Star Trek, they use bigger models too, to
Yeah.
where they love to get those close ups.
And Star Trek, the sad part about Star Trek is Star Trek was a franchise that ILM cut their teeth on doing model work with, and by the time they got to make another Star Wars movie, they didn't use any fucking models. Like, okay, so it's clear in the TV cut that at some point they start fucking. In this version, I don't think it's ever clear that they start fucking.
Right, it's very innocent and
Yeah.
hey, we like each other.
But relationships formed during situations of high stress never work out. But also there's like this weird classism thing where he's an egghead and she's a
Right, she's
a party
a
girl.
a floozy, a charamp, a charamp, a charamp. Oh, but
Okay,
a
here we
very
go.
good looking starlet. All right, here we go.
I do like that it, even though this her entire part is being about being objectified, they still let her wear flats, which they didn't let Bryce Dallas Howard wear. Okay, and
Damn.
we're done. Okay, so it doesn't look worse, but you also can't, you see even less because there's more, you know,
Yeah.
absolute black on the screen.
Yeah, it's just dark, dark,
Oh
but
man, I would love that Petrox poster.
oh, that one right there with the.
Yeah, oh yeah, I do
I bet that
decorate.
was done by that artist that did the
Yes.
Kong.
So there's a bunch of fucking art for Kong and like promo art, and the funny thing is a lot of it's terrible.
Well, because Dum Dum wouldn't like he did the same, pasted the same
Yeah,
Kong face on everything.
they saved money by
They
doing
did Bruce
like
Lee from Game of Death on a Kong poster.
uh-oh. How did that happen? How did that get
Wow.
dropped? Okay. So now we're going to cut to I don't know if she would have done a whole fashion spread like this, but this is the vibe you're getting.
Yeah, it should have been a.
Oh,
I don't know.
that's what I was saying. In the comics, the villagers are Pacific Islanders
Uh,
because they're in, you know,
yeah.
that area of the world. Um, so then they make this story all about that. And so some of those stories have been really good. There's at least one series that was really good right up until the end. Or right up maybe until like the last two issues. The problem with those Boom licensed properties is their pacing's all off. Like it's like they need to do two
All right. They need
five
to really.
issues or
Yeah.
something.
They have to get a lot of product out before
Yeah.
I guess they say they lose the license or whatever. Because I think they had Disney, didn't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah. They had Disney.
They had Ducktales. I remember.
Yep. Their Marvel or their Muppet stuff. I mean, even
Oh,
the language stuff is, the great comics, but
I
even
think I still have an issue.
yeah, the non-language stuff is really good. And they did a bunch of language stuff that's great too. Snarked is great, but
Mm.
their licensed stuff, they did Sons of Anarchy, so they've done some really good stuff, but usually their licensed stuff is like it runs 6 issues so they can charge more for the trade or the collection. I guess now you charge more
See,
for your Kindle collection, but what the story really needs is like 2 5 issues. Like
mm,
they need more space, and they're always rushed at some point.
see, when I hear stuff like Sons of Anarchy had a comic, where's my 21 Jump Street comic?
You know what? Blame it on Sony, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean old school Jump Street. I don't mean
right?
them
Yeah,
like
yeah.
fucking.
I mean, no, but is there any Stephen J. Cannell show that wouldn't make a good comic? Like,
Right,
no, they
like
don't.
they tried with he did Greatest American Hero, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they tried years ago with it. William Cat, but it never really
no, because
took
it's
off.
you can't do it like that. You got to do it. You got to do it like you just got to find the magic. You got to wait
And a
until
good
somebody,
artist,
yeah. The
because
artists with this shit that they pay artists so little now. Like,
I guess so. Because I look at comics now, and it's like, how dare you have a $3.99 cover price on this piece of shit right
yep,
here?
yep. No, and that's the thing is now you're getting to the point where it was really hard, say in the early 2000s, to like for people to be able to be like passionate, like writer, what
Writer
draw
artists,
writer artists, whatever
pencilers,
this
yeah.
singer, basically you're the singer songwriter of
Mm-hmm.
fucking comics. It was really hard, but that took off. So like it's better now if somebody came up through that than if they like started as a fucking comic, like just trying to be an artist, because like the technicals of it, they let so much cheap shit through, and then like it's
Yeah,
just
it's real
it's
bad.
so rough, it's so bad, and it just ruins any chance the property has.
Like
Because
none of the
like
artists now are like the old school ones
no,
at all.
and like
Well,
it's
there is one though. Whoever did they did a Shazam, and they did, I think, Evan Doc Shaner or whatever.
oh Doc, oh yeah, Doc
Uh,
Shaner's great, yeah, but yeah, and he's basically like you're kind of retro-y,
yeah, see, I like the clean look.
yeah.
More like George Perez or
Yeah. Well, you got Ivan Rees, but is he even working anymore?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, there was the
I guess
DC
there's
house style. And the thing is DC eventually like just let people sort of do the house style. They didn't have to do it really good. But that was always the thing about DC's house style. If it was Juan Jose Reap, or not Juan Jose Reap, that's the fucking Avatar guy. If it was Garcia Lopez, if it was
Garcia
George
Lopez.
Perez,
Wow.
if it
Yeah.
was Ivan Rees, if it was that other guy who was like in
Dan
there.
Jurgens.
Right. Even Jurgens. Jurgens is like your baseline. You should always have at least a Jurgens. You should always at least have a burn,
Mm-hmm.
an 80s burn.
Jerry Ordway.
And Ordway.
Another one.
Ordway is another good example, right? Like that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually say Ordway's at the top of that tier list. Okay.
Oh.
Also, we missed we cut to last night, or no? Does he cat? Do we see Kong at the first night of the TV cut?
Well, up to this part, I think, and then
Okay.
that's when it cuts. I believe.
Yeah. So De Laurentiis wanted to convince people this is
Oh, the mechanical
the
Kong.
mechanical.
Uh,
Hold on. Wait for it. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Come on, Kong. That would be one of your best matte shots of the 70s, but that is not an animatronic. That is Richard
Rick
Baker in a
Baker.
monkey suit.
A well-made monkey suit,
A
though,
very well made monkey suit.
despite what
It,
anybody after Gen X says.
yeah.
Because this
Here's
is
the thing, and this
the
is,
Kong I grew up on.
yep.
Shit.
I'm going to make a comment. That is also, that might be the hand. Yeah, that is the hand because that's Jessica Lange. They basically perfected the hand. They couldn't do
Right. Look at that.
anything else. Here we have the composites. Some of these do actually look better in the pan and scan just because of the stuff, but
Yeah.
The
It doesn't look
angles,
so much like.
yeah, it's not ILM. The angle, I mean, they're almost there, right? But the angle's
Yeah.
off just a little bit, and they just don't have it. Um, I don't think CG is far enough along to do Kong.
Not without him looking cartoony. I think the thing of it is the movement too. Like
Yeah,
when something CGI moves, there's something real precise and too quick about it, and
the reason you can do
something about
God's,
frame rate.
yeah, it is. It's something about 60 to 120 or whatever. Yeah, the Peter Jackson bullshit. Um, it is actually because it's about the hair and how hair moves. But
And
that's why you can
bouncing
do
and
dinosaurs because dinosaurs don't have hair.
no.
Once you put the feathers on the dinosaurs, including giant chickens killing each other and eating people, um, it it's going to change how the movement works. If you can have static skin, that's fine. But like dealing with the hair, it never is going to look right. And they just don't
No.
have the hair because you
But
could you're gonna
I'll give it to him. The new Kong looks good. And they really did him well in Skull Island and
yeah.
Zilla versus Kong.
It you don't worry about it. I'll give them that. You don't like that's my issue with the new God with the American Godzilla is that's really what they thought was the best design. Not that they can't execute it when they try. It's like
Mm.
that's what you thought the
What, the new
best.
one?
I don't like the American Godzilla design
The
at
new one
all.
for real? Looks kind of like the old, original kind of, or what they were going for.
Dog face, nope, out, out. Make it look like 85. Make that work for you.
Remember that one was actually a. It wasn't just a guy in a suit though. They used a mechanical.
Yeah, on the original, that's the big difference between the first two Godzilla movies. Or I think the second guy, I think Godzilla Raids Again ends with some puppet work, like some really bad puppet work. But yeah, no, Godzilla was a combination of models and what do you call it? Man in suit
Hmm.
for the first one. And then really by three, by King Kong versus Godzilla was when they were all by that time they were all in on suits.
Yeah, that's when they were cost cutting. They were like, well,
Well, because I mean, in the interim of those two, they'd done Mothra and they'd done Rodan, and that's like you that fucking flinging shit around the studio is a lot different than wrestling in outfits. Like, okay, so oh, Jack wants to keep going, but
the men are tired.
the
They
men are
need food.
tired.
They need water.
All right, Carnahan. All right. But me and the captain are going to have Mai Tais on the beach here. Have a good night.
Whew, I'm beat.
Ah, this is rough. So, do we ever see any of the villagers again? Or are they just gone?
No, they show up when Kong comes back to beat the.
Mm,
Or I don't
no,
know. You're
I
right.
don't think so.
You're right. They might have just kind of.
They might
Well,
just have
that
pieced
was it.
out. Yeah. They do come back in the first one because in the first one, Kong rampages the
Yeah,
village.
the
Like,
original. Yeah,
this
I remember
is so.
the
Okay,
baby.
children. Yeah. Okay, children. If you've only ever seen the Peter Jackson King Kong, this is where that characterization of King Kong comes from. The characterization in Peter Jackson's King Kong does not come from the original King Kong. The
No, the
original King
original
Kong
was
is
just
a
a big
bad
monster.
guy. Yeah, like
that. Yeah, that's the one thing they don't get, and they keep saying, "Well, it's a great interpretation of the
nope,
original Kong."
no, it's
No,
not.
Kong never became sympathetic until this.
Yep. I mean, he was. I haven't seen. I think he's played sympathetic in King Kong versus Godzilla, but that's a stretch. No, at the same time, is it a stretch? Like the kaiju movie fan, if we're including
Right.
Kong and the kaiju now, um, that would have been what was some of the characterization keeping him alive. I've got to see the American cut of the King Kong versus Godzilla because I remember a bunch of shit about it, and I don't know if I remember that or if I'm making it up.
Hmm.
Like I remember there being a detail that like they took Kong to the island after New York or something, and I'm like, did I remember that? Is that real or is that in my head? Okay,
Yeah, it's
so
no because so many different cuts.
yeah, okay, so here we're getting the hand, and there you can see what I'm talking about. By you need to fucking worry about hair moving all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all gotta fucking look right. Otherwise, it eventually doesn't look right.
It
Like,
just looks stiff.
yep. Like you can do, and video games will do this thing where they have floppy hair on top and stiff hair underneath, and you can there's eventually there's always a frame where you can tell, and you're just like, up, it breaks the fucking thing. Though yes, they have gotten to the point where I don't like worry about King Kong special effects in the way you had to with Peter Jackson. Like that was the thing. If Peter Jackson had done a combo stop motion CGI, like something like made it about that aspect of filmmaking, that would have been amazing. And he did not do that. Nice little miniature sets here. King Kong Lives, which we will be watching next week, also has lots of miniature sets. Lots and lots of them. Many more than this one does.
Yeah, miniature sets that actually look like miniature sets.
Yeah. It,
As opposed to this that actually,
yeah, these
matches.
yeah. Like it would be nice if that it'd be nice if they gave these guys $2,500 to hire some YouTuber to fix the color
Yeah, to touch
matching.
it up. Yeah.
Like, but this is Paramount who will not fucking pay. God, I don't even know at this
Well, this
point.
one still gets dissed to this
Yeah,
day for some stupid reason. I don't get why people are more attached to the Peter Jackson one than
because people fucking ride or die with Peter Jackson. Oh, that looks better on Pan and Skin. Just
yeah.
saying. Because it's like there's more speed to it. But again, this is not ILM. This is there was not an ILM yet. There was not
No.
a
This was
dedicated
experimental
effect.
stage.
Yeah. This is them doing the
This
best they can.
this Superman, Star Wars. I mean, this
Yep.
is where the first time they did any of this shit. So
Mm-hmm. And Star Wars is what like won, right? Like the Superman approach did not win.
no. No, I don't
And
like this. Is
yeah,
this where she beats him in the nose?
yep. And calls him a male chauvinist ape or something. Okay. So
That
now,
just looks bad. Yeah. Oh well.
yeah, oh
Right
yeah,
there's
there
cool.
you go.
But that, what the hell?
Well, I mean, it's so funny too, because it's just like, dude, you just needed to move the camera a fraction of an inch
Just
and
a
the
little bit
angle would have
more.
matched. Like,
Yeah.
how? How? something must have been wrong. They're fucking like, what does everybody say? Their beach ball on a stick. Their beach ball on a stick must have been a square or something, but it's just like everything. They just have it off like a little bit. But they also, as I recall from the making of Dino De Laurentiis's King Kong, I don't remember who wrote it. The effects were this was a very hard effect shoot. Like, because De Laurentiis wanted that fucking animatronic in it, and it wasn't getting done. And
you couldn't move it around.
Yeah,
like
we'll get to it. Yeah. Now, was it Boris that did a fucking poster for this, or is it the other guy? I have a copy of it. But one of the fantasy artists did one of those posters for this. Which
I thought it
was it
whoever the Asian artist, the Japanese artist.
No, not the
one who did the Star Wars.
Oh. Not the skyscraper. There's that one too, and that's a great one, and that was hidden for years. Looks like she's got shit on her face. That's nice. But I mean,
there's the hand.
This is a fucking good sequence. Like, leave me alone. Like, yeah, okay, you can tell that it's an effects sequence. You can tell that fucking Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor are standing in front of a green screen. Let me the
green screen, yeah.
Like, and that's really kind of the quest for what sci-fi special effects realism that was sort of assumed to be the big crossover when genre would make it.
There was a time though, like, and Lucas should have just understood that when they were working at Pinewood back in the originals, those were fucking sets. You don't just go back to the 50s and do that goofy shit, because that's what green screen is now. Is that
it's just rear screen projection,
and it looks like it, you know.
It really looked like it in the Star Wars. Like that was the funny thing, and it's gotten better,
especially because of the way they're always staged.
Yeah,
they're always standing like right next to each other. And
okay, so there's John Lone's like one fucking shot where he'd be in the pan and scan version. But yeah, so the Marvel movies are infamous for this. They have that whole like motion room or whatever, the immersive filming thing. And then you watch the Book of Boba Fett and you're like, oh, look, it's the actor, two props on the floor, and a fucking rear screen projection.
Yeah, rear screen.
And people just don't give a shit. And it's like, okay, well, if people don't give a shit, then the Disney shit with that is better than whatever the fuck Warner Brothers does. So the Disney shit is therefore better. Like, whatever, it's fine. But it's also like incredibly bland. Like, and you'd never have this. Why would you have this in a movie like that? Why would you have that other than somebody going, there's a really fucking cool waterfall. Let's have King Kong walk around in a waterfall because we can do that. Like, we can build that combination model train set and fucking second unit footage.
All bullshit aside, though.
Ooh. Horny Kong.
What is Kong's end game, though, really? Because, I mean,
it's unclear. I think
they can't do anything. They can't do nothing to the broad here.
It's got to be. I'm sure. Okay, so this is, I think, our first Jessica Lange swimming scene. We'll have another one. Though I don't know that the other one actually lasts very long in this. So this follows the general story beats of the original, but not like very broadly. Eventually, Jack rescues her and they have to get back, and then the guys capture Kong and they go to New York. The end. That's the story beats that are similar.
Oh boy.
Okay, what could his breath possibly smell like?
Mm.
Right? Like it smells like
Or maybe it's a
raw.
combination of that stuff that
Okay.
maybe
It's just like really sweet. Like
or something.
that is the one big problem with King Kong is they never explain the like what kind of ecosystem could sustain his diet.
At Universal Studios, and I've yet to mention
It's true.
the
Yeah.
old school Kong mechanical ride on both of the one in Florida and the one in Hollywood. When you get in front of him, he has banana breath.
Really?
Like it's very,
Okay.
yeah, it's banana flavored breath. Oh, I don't know if that's supposed to be what it, but that was a little perk to going to see Mechanical
Right.
Kong.
Okay. Little Jack Daniels product placement. But also, this is where we find out that there is no oil on the island. And dummy Charles Grodin has already called into the board that he's bringing home the big
Oh,
one.
big one. He's so cool too. Just laughing his ass off. Like, ah, you dumbass.
So everybody always jokes about how 80s movies are all about cocaine. 70s movies are all about being drunk and on a couple pills while acting, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is the infamous log bridge sequence, which it's one of those things that they did in the first movie because it was one of the things you could do with the special effects at the time.
Right.
And that's kind of that's was the most successful thing about Skull Island was that it figured out other action beats to put Kong in,
Mm.
which I feel like it has been missing. I can't remember.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. Don't fucking shoot him. You're going to piss him off. We want him to ignore us. Dummies. Okay, so now the other thing about this in Pan and Scan and VHS is we are, we are suffering a little bit from clearer print quality, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
when everything's the same sort of slightly muddy VHS, there are certain details you don't like notice,
No.
especially with matte shots. Like having to explain to someone what a matte shot was a
A little bit louder.
you know, and to him, Julius Harris is like, ha! They said the black guy got to live in this one.
Right? So I'll do it. What time I need to be on set?
Is there even? I don't think there's a single black person in the next movie. Is there?
Ah. Mm. I don't know. I can't
King
remember.
Kong Lives is weird. King Kong Lives is going to be weird. King Kong Lives is just a weird. Do you
It
know
is
De Laurentiis
oddball
getting to
shit.
make movies by himself was
Well, it's
weird?
kind of it's got the same energy as some shit like Red Sonja, you know.
Yeah. And then he also made. Do you know De Laurentiis somehow made Canadian movies in the United States? Like Bedroom Window feels like a movie that would be made in Canada, but instead was filmed in Baltimore. But you can't tell me that it also couldn't have just been filmed in Canada. Like, okay.
Off with you.
I don't think Bo gets any lines here. Does he actually get to say anything, or does he just like
I know he doesn't say anything when he gets back. He just does the.
he just collapses?
Yeah, he
In
collapses and does a thing with his hand.
in the original, it's Denham and Driscoll, so it's the two male leads who get split up here. But clearly, they weren't going to make.
No, Charles Grodin was not going to do some action sequence.
No, I don't think Charles Grodin's ever done an action sequence. Uh, Muppets? Does he have an action sequence in Muppets?
If he does, it was probably a double.
Oh, I mean, some Midnight Run. But yeah, Charles Grodin's idea of an action sequence is some light running.
Yeah, like let's get out of here around the corner.
Yeah, out of this shot real quick. Okay, so now we're getting supplies for them to capture Kong.
You gotta admit, he did get kind of lucky though.
Mm-hmm.
Not getting the oil, but getting Kong. So this was a really good twist. Uh, the update to the original.
Yeah, now in the original,
They're just filming a movie, right?
they're just filming a movie, and they are instead get the idea that they can bring him back as an attraction. So there is like the same sort of there's a pivot in the original, but it's their goal is always Kong in the original. In this, Jack's goal is getting to the island, but the main
And
goal
reaping
of
it of his resource.
the expedition is the oil expedition is the idea. Okay, so
Yeah.
in the pan and scan, you can't tell that's a footprint.
No, it's just the two things right there, the two holes.
Yep, makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense here either because where's Kong's other corresponding footprint? But
Yeah.
But still, even if Kong wasn't like tippy toeing up the side of the, that would have been a great sequence. That's the cut scene. Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's. But still, whatever. It's fine.
Okay, so likely they've ran the villagers off, scared the shit out of them or something.
I do not even think they come out for the hand scene. We'll have to see. Kong's another one where of the special. So the other thing about special effects movies of yore was you would have great behind the scenes photos. Now they just make the joke about how it's like Robert Downey Jr. and Don Cheadle wearing the masks outlined on their heads and then like I don't know, shorts and a t-shirt or whatever, versus the DC ones where Zack Snyder makes them dress up. But back in the day, you would get these, shots of, this whole miniature set or something, and you'd get to look at how the special effects were done. Which I imagine is something that like this, right? Like you would get to see all the facets of that huge set. But now it's just you can only sort of appreciate that if you can appreciate how a certain CGI element mats with another or whatever. Or how some dynamic lighting effect would work, which is a much more specialized thing. You can't like be an amateur and just enjoy the grandeur of the set here. I don't know if we're going to get. This is another thing. These are eventually going to be stand ins for the World Trade Center, the two towers of Skull Island there. It's not
the Smiling Kong mask.
It's not quite the Martha. Why did you say Martha of the 1976 King Kong? But it's in that. It's in that area. But I don't know if we ever get any like really cool shots of them. Here is where we are going to try to get Jessica Lange's clothes off. Because Kong is a microphile or something like.
I guess so, because I just didn't get what the mechanics were of him in this human size whatever.
Right. So like he's a pervo, right? Like he's the reason there are no other apes on Skull Island is because Kong was the serial killer. Like, okay, but wait. Now he's like, I'm sorry, I was a dick. Yeah. How you doing? Yeah.
It doesn't look as bad though as the one in King Kong Lives.
No, the one in King Kong Lives is fucking weird because King Kong Lives, he's not a pervo. Like they lose that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of his whole personality in this one. The snake took them a long time to do, and the snake does not look good. It looked better in the
giant snake in Conan looked better than this.
Yeah, because it's just snakes seem like they should be easy to do, but then when you don't pull it off, it's really fucking embarrassing. Like it really stands out. Okay, so we get hugs. Did we get a kissy? I think we got a kissy. We got some side boob because it's PG. 1976. You can't expect a 10-year-old American boy to go to a movie without some side boob.
Well, there have been PG movies that got away with full on back then.
That's true. Oh God. Yeah, we actually talked about that a few weeks ago, everybody. Never mind. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Okay, wow. That movie was from 1985. This was from 1976, and this wasn't. And this involves kidnapping women and getting them stoned to feed them to rape monkeys. And somehow this is less problematic than Jewel of the Nile. Oh, okay. So here's our chase sequence. Now, in the original, this is all on a set or like 3 sets, very involved. And infamously or, notably, those are the same sets that are partially used in The Most Dangerous Game, which was made by some of the same people at the same time when they were doing the special effects, the stop motion for Kong. Okay, here's our jump and our second Jessica Lange swimming. Okay, so we don't get any Jessica Lange swimming. We do get that fucking impressive cliff shot because that's a nice fucking cliff shot. Like, just the scale of that. So, what was I going to say about? Was it cliff jumping? Was it Most Dangerous Game? Stop motion delays. I don't know. Okay, but the scale of Kong's miniatures versus the scale of like a Godzilla, that's something that this one plays with a lot better than it gets credit for. Like that sort of scale where your person or your object is 50 feet tall versus 350 feet tall, it changes the kind of miniatures you're going to do. It changes the scale of your model train set, basically. Okay, so here's Julius Harris getting his line. Oh wait, does he not even get a fucking line?
I don't think so.
Oh my god. Wow. Okay. We're looking like a see, we're not just going to show Jessica Lange with her clothes off. We're going to give you some oily Jeff Bridges.
Yeah,
That's what you want.
some for the moms in the audience to have to endure this shit.
Well, I also like that all of a sudden he's worried about how dressed she is, given the natives put her in more clothes than she wore to the beach earlier that day.
Right. She was just in a half shirt and some cutoffs. She was practically in a bikini and shit.
Okay, you got to cover up the ground because otherwise Colin's going to notice. So now we must be coming up close on the second half of the second night, but that's kind of hard because we've got 45 minutes left. So
I gotta give him credit though. This original cut does flow well.
oh yeah, this movie moves really fucking well for a
Like it
100.
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's.
No, it's got a really nice pace to it. Sadly, I don't think the same is true about King Kong lives.
Once they introduce Lady Kong, that's where it really sort of.
I mean, that's where it really sort of goes, but doesn't it really sort of go again during Linda Hamilton and Brian Kerwin's romance? Like,
yeah, that's where it screeches.
yes. So that's basically the problem is you can say whatever the fuck you want about Jessica Lange playing a party girl model, but she's so much better than Lynn Hamilton's pretty bad in the second one. And Brian Kerwin is basically
any dude.
He's any dude, but also frequently abusive husband dude. Like Brian Kerwin is what would happen if Aaron Eckhart played to type more often.
Yeah. Screeching, yelling Kong.
Yep. Okay. Notice we do not have any villagers. Maybe they come out when he falls in the pit, which implies the village is really fucking close too. Beating the shit out of that set. Got our little composite there. Come on now. But even though now the original Kong goes straight from Kong's capture to the New York City opening. This will do something a little different. This is going to take a break.
Yeah, after all of this, we're going to take a breather on the boat.
Dramatically decompress. So here we go. Big effects shot. And down he goes.
So for her, he beats through this fucking wall that he's never even bothered to go past.
Yep. Okay. Do the villagers come out in this version? Yes.
Oh, there they are.
But it's like, okay, you're in your outfits. Why would you be in your outfits?
Well, just in case they have to.
Okay.
Because they know Kong's on the way, so.
And
Oh, see, they get on their knees and
yep,
do the thing.
yep,
The king has fallen.
yep. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Now we're on a new tanker here. Very hard to understand if you are 5 or 6 years old. I'll just let everybody know.
Huh.
This is not the ship they were. This is not the Petros Explorer. This is the giant oil ship, where that is usually filled with oil, but here it is filled with King Kong. And now we have 45 minutes left of the movie. He's got to get to New York. He's got to climb the Empire State Building or the World Trade Center, and he's got to die. Here, they're feeding him bananas, which he doesn't really want.
Here, monkey. Here, food, monkey.
Would you want to eat? This is what I'm talking about. Like, he needs some mutant ass bananas because
Right, he needs more than just that.
he needs more than that. That's not enough.
Like, that's not even a handful of what.
Okay.
They know what the fuck they had in there, a big ass ape. What? They come over there with baskets of shit. 3 little boxes full of shit.
And I think apes eat meat. It's one of those things that it's like it's not comfortable to think about. But I think apes eat meat.
Wow.
But anyway, I don't know though. Somebody check that. It's on Wikipedia, I'm sure. But here we've got Jack and Dwan. She's going to be a star. Jack feels a little bit like shit because this shitty oil company stole this monkey off the island.
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah, now Jack's got a conscience.
He's got a conscience about it.
He's
Yeah.
trying to bring this back to where, what's right is right.
You know, Gene Hackman in for Charles Grodin in this.
Yeah, I thought about that once. But it's just Grodin, man.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, just the mustache.
He makes it work. But yeah, for sure.
Well, you definitely couldn't
He looks like him with the mustache.
Yeah. You couldn't do this star-crossed. You couldn't do this troubled romance. But also, look at this fucking photography. Yeah. So good.
I like the fact that you get the grid there, knowing it's Kong in there, and she's.
Gullerman's very underappreciated. Like, the guys who not some of the problem with sort of the impression of definitely some 60s, but also some 50s cinema is that it was all sort of Elvis movies or John Wayne or shitty John Wayne movies. It wasn't even like people didn't even remember good John Wayne movies, right? Or well-made John Wayne movies. They just remembered the shitty ones.
Yeah.
And so the people who made
how they could just go to Elvis movies like they were all the same shit. Same story.
Yep. It was just about Elvis selling himself as a movie star. So weird.
Thing of it is, the earlier ones were the better ones because that's when they were really trying to make him an
Right.
actor. And then
When he wanted to be a fucking actor and not just a movie star. And then that continued, that whole thing, like, got to be sort of a gatekeepy thing of movie star versus actor and things like that. Though even by the strictest thing of that, Jeff Bridges was never tried very hard to be an actor. He always tried to be a movie star, even when he was. Well, I mean, just because I mean, he was a showbiz kid too, right? Like he was
yeah, he
Lloyd
was
Bridges' kid.
a dynasty, so to speak.
Yeah. And so it's not like he did, I don't know, fucking Meryl Streep movies or whatever. Like, no, that was Kurt Russell who tried that shit. Like, Jeff Bridges was very like B tier mainstream.
It's just so wild. They got so much expression out of.
Oh, Rick Baker.
Yeah, Rick Baker
Rick
was
Baker.
genius. I mean, this is long before like Ninja Turtles or some shit.
Yep. And who you wouldn't have that much constant expression until like the Ewoks, right? Like, and they did
Well,
not
even
have
those didn't.
they
Yeah,
didn't
those
have
didn't even
that.
have. They weren't even animatronic.
No.
They just kind of had static faces till
Yes.
I think maybe the movies, the Ewok
I
movies,
think,
like,
yeah, that's when they
and they
tried
only
doing
did
more.
a couple of them with, while the rest of
Right.
them, the background ones were. At least they didn't do the
Um
creepy eye blink. Jesus.
so yes, so that is why Kong has such a pronounced sort of mouth region there, is because that is an animatronic. There's a motor in there helping give him expressions, presumably.
Uh,
So now we get this nice destruction sequence here. They're gonna flood the tank, except now I don't really know if it's accurate to describe Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges as star-crossed lovers in this. They're more like they're just cursed by this situation. But they
yeah,
also never,
it's a romance of circumstance.
yeah, they never would have met under regular circumstances.
No, he wasn't even intending to
No.
run into any. This was his mission to bring down Petrox.
So,
Hey, look at that.
no. Okay. We get this business.
Try that with CG, but
No. And that's the problem, is you're just not fucking there yet. And it's like, I think some of the problem is that people they the studios figured out, principally thanks to Warner Brothers and Harry Potter, that you didn't actually have to do very much, right? Like,
uh,
it can look like shit. It can, if your baseline like is a Disney Plus show, how many of the fucking DC movies have even hit that? Like, the DC movies, for all their budget and all their shit, they are just really bad at special effects.
Yeah.
They're like I seriously think that there are better special effects sequences on some of the shows that with much less budget than showed up in some of those movies, just because it's just they don't spend the money on it.
No.
The exception to that is something like Superman Returns, which did lean very heavy into using CGI to sort of spruce up the old style of the Superman special effects. So many asterisks with that, I suppose. Okay, so now we get this nice shot of her climbing up, what appears to be a combo match shot and thing there. Very nice. But this is the other thing about this era of sort of sci-fi fantasy or whatever you're going to put this in, is that you also had a bunch of stuff like Soylent Green, you had Future World. There were other genre movies, and many of them look fucking terrible. Like,
well, for one thing, their whole idea of the future was just
but like
really limited.
well, the other thing is, you had the Planet of the Apes series, which infamously got cheaper as they went along. They got more successful and cheaper because Fox used that accounting right up until the Disney purchase. And so this is like A-list, a 70s A-list production. The cast is not A-list, but that's because I mean, who would what Robert Redford would basically be the argument of who you could possibly get. Like Steve McQueen is, but yeah. So like, but this is like the level of technical competency. This is A-list for 1976. Like this is a fucking great looking movie.
That tracks.
Hey, look fast for John Agar. Oh no, he's not in it yet.
Where?
John Agar is in it as the mayor for a second. I'll point him out. But he gets a really big credit, and they make a big deal about how like John Agar of 50s monster movies was in this, and he's like, he might say, "What's your idea, young man?" Okay, Jack is not going to go on stage and do the presentation. Nope.
It's too righteous.
But Jack, come on.
Right. The tug of fame and celebrity.
I'm pretty sure the TV cut establishes, doesn't it establish they're living together? And he did, or something, and he didn't tell her. I'm pretty sure it does. Hold on. Where's something that won't click? I gotta check and see this.
And out he goes. Oh, 70s New York. Kong.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the TV cut sort of literalizes their romance and makes Jeff Bridges seem like a total dipshit. Yeah, like it does. I'm sure it does. I just don't remember the exact details. Okay, so here it is, ladies and gentlemen. The moment you have all been waiting for.
The big giant mechanical Kong.
The mechanical Kong.
That was intended to be
the star of the film.
It doesn't look bad, but it
it's good they keep him in long shot, ladies and gentlemen.
And they have him encased in a giant Petrox.
And the problem is like
Petrox gas station fueler.
You can't show the scale of this right. Like this reveal, nobody cares if you've got a 50-foot King Kong, really. Like you're gonna do this exact same sequence with a composite. Like that's the thing. Is like they had no reason for it after all this.
That's another reason. That was another reason why they just said the hell with it and use guy in a suit.
There's the real King Kong, ladies and gentlemen. That's not the real King Kong. That's them feeling bad. That's the model. Notice how long of a shot we're in. Oh, look, it's the close-up. Wait a second. That's weird. Why isn't Kong ever as animated in the long shot?
Right.
Wait a second. What are you fucking doing? I like that. What are you fucking doing?
Yeah, hey, wait a minute. What?
Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. That steel is
the fucking hat.
Yep.
Like he went out there and brought that.
And the turtleneck. I mean, there's your fucking, I don't know who you would get to do it, but that's your fucking spin-off show from King Kong modernized. It's the Charles Grodin story. Like you do the fucking he's basically just like a little bit more legit Herb Tarlick. Like
yeah.
So now
we're gonna go back to the long shot.
I think we will for a second. But the other thing that we haven't really been talking about is that in the original, a lot of the big deal is how Fay Ray's screaming a lot.
So there's this one lady who kicks it off though.
Yeah. And they might use do they use Fay Ray's scream in here somewhere? Like they might have done something like that. But yes. But Jessica Lange doesn't scream a lot. Oh yeah, there he is. He's scary. And that would sort of carry on to the Peter Jackson one, but that's not Fay Ray was screaming her ass off through the whole first movie. These are incredible composites for the time. Like Kong stepping on people, that's some incredible special effects work. Even that composite looking like matching that well, like Kong in 76 had better composites than things that came out well into the 80s would. Which was one of the things that was like super frustrating about people not appreciating it.
Charles Grodin kind of got himself killed.
Doesn't he live in the TV cut? I think he lives in the TV cut.
In the TV cut, yeah, I think he lives, but he gets stepped on. He's running towards Kong.
So, he's a freaking idiot. He's got it coming. That's the whole deal.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. He's running towards Kong. Like, what the
I think in the TV cut, isn't he running from something? Like he's running from his boss.
Yeah, he's running from something and he turns, and hits
Yeah.
a like turns around and then is like, oh shit, there's Kong.
Okay, so we were talking about urban action movies the last couple episodes with the Ghostbusters movies. Here we are going to have
Okay, now
some
this
pretty
is
large scale.
also what the Universal Orlando version and the original King Kong in Hollywood, the King Kong encounter. This is what all this whole sequence is what the shit was based on. Now,
Um,
King Kong encounter, you just turn a corner and you're on a tram that's supposed to represent the train,
okay.
and here's Kong at the bridge, and you just sit in front. He's roaring at you, but the one in Orlando is a little more detailed, where like you come across Kong like three times and shit on the ride, and you're supposed to be on the cable cars. And there's a part where Kong grabs the tram and tosses it. It's, it's sick.
See, this is one of like this is hard because you can't do the people in the train except like the scale of it's so much better, right? Like
Yeah.
it's the, big model train scale or whatever. So it's just the action's much different than a Godzilla thing. And now at
Yeah,
this,
because Godzilla's way bigger, right?
yeah.
But
And
they change his size
they
from
change
time to
his
time.
size, and Godzilla had a train bit in the first Godzilla movie. Kong had a train bit in the original. And so, like, there we get this. He thinks that's his Barbie doll, but it's not.
It might have been
And bam!
that might have been the Fay Ray screams, you
But
know?
I mean, we got some fucking nice practical effects here. Look at this shit.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you could it would have to be integrated better, but like, and this is what we lose trying to figure out how to do effects sequences when everything instead is just we can do whatever we want. And that is the comic book movie revolution, not the MCU. Okay, so we got
Dude, they
some
even
like
have that
I think
with the
yeah.
helicopter.
Now there's a cut scene that is included in the TV cut, and it's weird because it's a big effect sequence, and so it's weird that they cut it where he
Mm.
knocks out the power station.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so very rarely in these like there's no well actually in Superman there were big effect sequences except those weren't like finished at the time and they had to be
Mm-mm.
finished later. Um but rarely do the TV cut, or actually, nope, I'm wrong again, because that's Star Trek the Motion Picture special longer version had unfinished effects in it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so actually, lots of times these things had things cut from them that were effect sequences that for some reason didn't work out or something. Okay, I recognize that view from somewhere. Yeah, so in the TV cut, basically this scene is going to be them talking about how like he wants her to be his fucking university wife and she won't do that. So like
Right.
fuck off. And
She wants to be famous.
it's just like he comes
She
off as
wants to
just
be a star.
a fucking prick. I don't know. It was before this. I think it was but it's like this really long scene where they're just drunk and but I think that establishes they've
Oh
been
yeah.
together. Yeah.
The TV version is
Yeah.
longer of
Yeah.
this. You kind of you need this shit to just move along at this point.
Because you don't want him to. Because that's kind of the thing is that like Jack is not going to fight for love here, whereas Driscoll in the first one does, right? Like he goes and he saves Anne, except they hate Kong the whole fucking time. Like,
yeah, Kong's just a monster.
Kong's a fucking monster the whole time. He's a dangerous monster the whole time. They don't trust denim and shit like that. But they're going to do it because it's the Great Depression and they want to fucking eat. This is like Dwan wants to be a star. Jack wants to go from being an associate professor to being a
here we go.
Oh, it's not in here. This is just how it starts or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they cut it. And there's the power station and the sequence is not there. Okay. Oh. But instead, we're going to get this like sweet scene here where they talk about how during the last big blackout, presumably not the Son of Sam 1, a bunch of babies were conceived during the blackout and to all the future sons and daughters of King Kong. And it's like this really sweet little scene. It's not like Dwan's trying to convince this douchebag that he should like give her a chance or something. Like Jessica Lange doesn't need to be convincing fucking Jeff Bridges she's good enough for him. Like silly. Right.
Yep. Look at that.
Yep. There we go, ladies and germs. This is what we were talking about the whole time. That's
somebody John get me the goddamn Ghostbusters.
That's John Agar as the mayor. So he does have more lines, except John Agar with a mustache and 70s hair does not look like the John Agar of yore. Like, that just looks like any fucking New York actor of the 70s. Look at all their fucking hair. Like,
but at that point, that's what all the old school actors look like. Remember? The actors of like the 40s and the 50s got into the 70s and
they just like, all fucking
had that 70s hair.
The 70s fucking just
sideburns.
Yep. Maybe throwing a bushy stash. And that was like the funny thing is like Jeff Bridges is supposed to be a hippie with his beard and long hair. And I'm like, it's so much more acceptable than the mustaches you were wearing around. Okay, and boom. Move along.
And she doesn't try to run.
Nope.
Like,
because in the regular version, she's like, I mean, you're not as bad as Jeff Bridges.
Right. It's almost like she would settle for him.
Yeah. Look at that. He's basically like Animal in some ways. Like,
yeah.
King Kong run around going, woman, is a bit on target here. Okay, so I mentioned this in the Ghostbusters thing. Maybe you got the idea. We've got a
that's kind of funny though.
Yeah, we've got that. Whereas in Ghostbusters, there was a whole line of them. Now we've got Kong in what I think is a composite. I don't know that we're going to do much in the way of. We've got some New York City landmarks, but we don't emphasize them. And then Kong makes really fucking good time getting to the World Trade Center. Just really good time. But here we've got Gullerman promising a huge amount of blockbuster 70s budget battle, and none of that will get used whatsoever. Do we even have a World Trade Center like plaza set, or is it all composites? Because that shadow was just a shadow thing.
He runs through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Bridges gets there.
The World Trade Center was not completed at the time or something, so they were.
Oh, so it might have been a set. Yeah.
Well, some of it is, but and this like really tied to the World Trade Center, and the World Trade Center was considered an eyesore of brutal. That's obviously a nice model there. Very nice. There's Bridges on the real thing. Yep. But yeah, so people thought, I guess, that he should climb the Empire State Building, which. So now we got Bridges. They leave it unlocked at night, so that's good.
Right, so he could just go right in there.
It might be implied that they had set this up for him for Bridges to get there. That might be in the TV cut too. I don't remember how much exposition there is. But
well, they wanted to keep him out.
No. Oh yeah, that's right. They're trying to push Bridges out in the TV cut more too. But do we even get another shot of the Empire State Building, or is that the only one? Oh, there it is. So that's our homage to the original. Because Easter eggs were not like a fucking required thing back in the day.
Hey, Jeff.
little doll hanging on dude there.
Oh man.
Now we do get the major rooftop set here. So that's cool. And then we get the very rough composites. Now, this is another thing that the pan and scan helps with, is just where the hell they thought their cameras were pointed for some of these composites.
Yeah, because it's really, the angles are awkward as fuck.
All off. And now Jessica Lange's like, wait a second. That's why I was scared of you. You're a rapey monkey. Yeah, it just is like, well, what's Kong's motivation for her in the Peter Jackson remake?
Well, the Peter Jackson one, they're friends, you know?
Oh, okay.
She teaches him sign language, or he knows sign language and shit, and
that's kind of like The Mighty Kong with Dudley Moore, a musical from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment.
He's more like a big pet in the Peter Jackson one. A big scared animal. Yeah, Patrice O'Neal was right. That's some bullshit. Either works as a monster, or something akin to this, but not, you know, Kong's not really supposed to be sympathetic.
No. Because he's got to have a survival agenda, like that. It runs into some of the Godzilla stuff doesn't have as much to do with it because Godzilla theoretically is going to be indestructible, where King Kong dies in all of his fucking appearances except two. Like,
yep.
Or I guess technically he doesn't die in King Kong versus Godzilla.
No.
But that Kong never got a sequel. As King Kong Escapes is a different Kong.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It's from the cartoon.
It's from the cartoon. Okay. So this is our big finale with the choppers. Now, Marvel movies shoot everything at night so they don't have to show you the special effects. Gee, look what we're doing. Gee, when did what time of day did the Towering Inferno take place?
This scene, though, would have been terrible in broad daylight.
Oh, can you even imagine with the composites that they would have been using?
This would have been so bad.
Oh, yeah, just like Spider-Man, the show levels of fucking city skylines and shit. Just like
all types of old ass stock footage.
Yeah. Instead, you do it so you can shoot it wherever the fuck you want, whenever the fuck you want, and you do have some nice. That is a decent composite with the Okay. But yeah, there we go. Squibs work on monkey suits too, it turns out. This would look better on the pan and scan as well because you're not that's gonna go by the worst of the special effects are gonna go by faster in pan and scan. Like and that's some of the problem with Kong 76 is that there is such a range of the special effects. Like you can't it's got a bunch of really good special effects and then it's got a bunch of stuff that just doesn't work out. Like
some of it is hit or miss, but it's like I said earlier, this is the first time they were doing a lot of this shit.
Yeah. And you don't have, and you do, like, the night shot and the lighting is covering, like, it's all fucked up, right? The scale and the angle's all fucked up, but you aren't having matte problems. Like, and that's almost what's disconcerting about it is that it's too unrealistic. Like, when you have shitty rear screen projection, you can just go, oh, it's shitty rear screen projection. Like here, we can see the matte line very obviously. But that was like one of the worst mattes. The other ones, the angles and shit were all off, but the mattes were, the matte work was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Oh, he's going to be all right. He's going to be okay. He's going to be okay in this one.
I don't like when he falls, though.
Yeah.
Is this where he just appears on
it? Because he rolls his ass off the fucking building. Like, he's got no reason to fall. I'm going to roll over.
He blinks and, they fixed it. Because one version, when he's falling, he just blinks into the picture, into the frame.
That's got to be I wonder if that's in the TV cut. That's a really quick fall, too. Like, the fall in the original is one of the great effects shots because they're doing like an extreme, like long shot of a probably a matte painting and mixing in a little bit of a model. And that's like one of the iconic shots of it. This doesn't even attempt it.
No. And she got down there pretty fast too,
Yep.
but
Just immediately she jumped. It's fine. Jeff Bridges, on the other hand,
right, he takes a little time getting there.
Takes too long to get there. And so now the ending appears. Okay, everybody get used to this because we're going to watch this again next week.
Yeah, the entire end sequence here.
We really got to
like
get to 105 minutes, everybody. It's not easy getting to 105 minutes, but sometimes we have to do it. Okay. So Jessica Lange feels really bad. This is very traumatic.
Too bad they couldn't have preserved that and kept it there.
Okay. Well, there were riots the first night they filmed it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So here we've got Jessica Lange all by herself at Kong. Jeff Bridges is running towards her.
Trying to swim through the crowd here.
Swim through the crowd.
He gets so close, and then, you know what?
The mayor's got her. And so now what we are left with here is that Jack is horrified at the situation, and it's a weak move, but he's not literally intentionally saying, fuck you, Dwan, I'm not going to help you out. Like, I don't want to be with you. I don't care enough about you to help you out with this business. So that's what the TV cut is. It's a lot. One of the other things about this ending is some of the publicity shots, some of the really famous publicity shots have Jessica Lange and Jack standing by the body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the producer wishes to acknowledge Kong was designed and engineered by Carlo, constructed with special contributions by Rick Baker. Rick Baker did everything. Rick Baker did everything.
Yeah, ultimately.
So it's fucked up. Yeah. John Agar getting a heavy credit there. But I think these end credits were stretched for VHS. So you got an idea of what this could look like at scale and how impressive it could be. Kind of like you don't understand some of the scale in the Star Trek the Motion Picture until you see it widescreen. Yeah. You like even
it's just so claustrophobic without the widescreen.
You really just need it. Okay, so Athena Silbert might have been a famous designer. Gowns and native costumes, yes. You always want your glamour gown person to do your native island thing. Native dance choreographed by Claude Thompson. Interesting. Wouldn't think that somebody named Claude Thompson should be choreographing that. Bulgari did the jewelry. Here's our cast list. Oh, it's not Bo, it's Bone.
Bone.
Oh, John Agar is city official.
A good old Paramount logo.
And good old Paramount.
They knew how to end a movie with their, I love how they did their tag.
Yep. Because it always felt like this was a Paramount picture, like without ever having to say it like that.
Although, Universal was kind of clever when they would do the Win in Hollywood, but
that was cool too.
They stopped doing that by, I would say, maybe after sometime in the mid '80s.
Yeah,
was it for John Landis used it a lot?
God, they really just employed him for a long time, even though he killed people, didn't they? Okay, so yeah, King Kong 76. Like it dates interestingly. There are some problematic elements, but I think it wins out. The good stuff outweighs the bad. Yeah,
it's not bad. It's actually, again, it's my King Kong. I I loved it when I was little. But shout out to ABC Channel 7 on Saturday nights. Remember when they used to play like the late movie?
Yeah.
It was always King Kong, Son of Kong. That's how I got to see that before Turner Classics.
Yeah.
But yeah. And the 76 Kong inspired the ride, the original Universal ride. So
which is what kept the brand alive for 20 years without movies. This is the 1976 King Kong. We will be watching the 1986 King Kong Lives next week. In between those two, there might have been a cartoon, might not have been, but King Kong was not much of a property.
No,
the only thing was that ride.
Rerun fodder.
Yeah. And not even this one, right? Because in the 80s,
it was a big if you wanted to kill like a couple hours on a network, you played King Kong.
Yeah.
But even then, by the mid '80s, it was strictly a cable movie. Like HBO had it on.
HBO had it like what, twice a year or something, 3 times a year. And the VHS went out of print.
Yeah, VHS was big.
There was a 2-tape version, and then it took them a while. It took them till the 90s to get it back out again or something, because VHS was very weird, folks, as we talk about. So yeah, the ride kept it alive and Peter Jackson wanted to make King Kong in 1996, but he couldn't get the money, so he made the Frighteners instead.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
another good ass movie.
Back to 10 years later. And so yeah, it's Kong has had a rocky road to franchise status. So,
and I'm gonna put my foot down and say I like the new one, the MonsterVerse Kong.
You do like the MonsterVerse Kong. I can't with the axe, but the MonsterVerse Kong is better than we've had.
Yeah, the axe is kind of cartoony, but yeah, otherwise, I dig the new Kong.
I am definitely on board to try out, to stick with it. I will at least keep giving them a shot. And I am interested in the Kong show. I'm not interested. The Godzilla one, I don't know about. We'll see. I don't know.
Monarch.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I think the Kong one's got a chance. So we'll see. Next week, we will watch something without a chance. 1986, King Kong Lives, which reunites Dino De Laurentiis and John Gullerman. Gullerman coming off of his, to that point, career low of Sheena, Queen of the Jungle.
Now
Gullerman had done Tarzan movies too.
It had a new Tanya Roberts, so I can't.
And it has a fun early 80s score. So, yeah. And Ted Wass, Blossom's dad. So, yeah. But yes, so Gullerman's back. It's Linda Hamilton. It's Brian Kerwin. It's from the writers of Alien.
And Lady Kong.
And Lady Kong is in it. Now, there had been a Queen Kong movie, which we will discuss briefly, because I could never watch it. I might try with Chemical Substances Now, which is how it was supposed to be watched anyway, because it's a fucking 60s or 70s camp movie. But anyway, so yeah, King Kong Lives next week.
Yeah. Now it's become kind of a joke in itself.
It has become a joke in itself, but it has not gotten any better because of that status. It's very
It's
unfortunate.
it's the Scrappy Doo of Kong movies, I guess.
Yeah. It I mean well because they're
It's just a shitty script.
it's a shitty script. We'll get to it. John Ashton, we
Oh
find out
God,
what
yeah,
happens when John Ashton plays an asshole who doesn't have a heart of gold.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be a lot. John Aston as George C. Scott. So we shall see next time on 709 Meridian.
Later, folks.